So here I am at a secret location and I'm in Glastonbury and I'll be talking to the lovely Audrey Turner about what she's created here. And I've seen it over the fence, but I'm very curious to know how all of this lovely ash wild meadow came about. So we will be in conversation with her and she will be telling us a bit more about this wonderful, wonderful project. She's created a little oasis for birds, all kinds of creatures, newts, you name it. It's a little wildlife haven here, right near the town centre.
So how it's called Ash Meadow is because when I moved here there was a massive ash tree. It was much too big. It should never have been. Either the houses were built around it or they put it there, but basically what happened was the roots started undermining the houses, so it had to be cut down, which was a bit of a shock because I'd literally moved here 2 days before, and then 8 o'clock in the morning these men with chainsaws just knocked on the door and said we're cutting the tree down. So we thought we would take advantage of the fact that we now had a lot more light and space, and what had been just a lawn with a tree in the middle, we could now rewild it. And I came from London and I'd never had a garden, so I was desperate and to plant things, and I always knew I wanted to have a pond, roses and a blossom tree, and I've got them all now in abundance. Got 2 ponds and several blossom trees, but that's why we called it Ash Meadow, to honour the tree. And I'll show you where the stump is, and so I got a load of seeds that are native to Somerset from a place called, there's a farm near Curry Rival that sells it, and I would say this though, if anybody's planning to do it, that there was 30% of the seeds I realised later were grass, so there's a bit too much grass. But then I sowed yellow rattle, which is called the meadow maker because it's actually parasitic and it feeds off grass roots. So hopefully over time, as we keep mowing it, it's obviously a work in progress, and it's lovely now. I think it's beautiful, but I think it's going to keep getting better with even more colour. I was so impressed with the wildflower bit near the bus stop where the coach stops when I arrived the other night. Poppies, cornflowers. This is what we want to try and achieve here. But even if it stayed like this, I'd be happy, because it's essentially it's for the wildlife. So we've got now 3 fruit trees. We've got a big Bramley apple tree, plum, and little cherry, and we've got the pond, we've got the bee home, which I just made yesterday and learned all about solitary bees, which I didn't know much about. And apparently in one of the tunnels they can make 3 little chambers for their babies who eat their way out, and they lay 20 to 30 eggs, and that's it, and then they die. So anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing a bit of life forming around that. What else can I tell you? What else can I So this is one of the ponds. This is the latest pond. I mean the youngest pond. It's about 2 years old, but I think it looks older because there's so much seed surrounding it that it's penetrated all the little nooks and crannies, and it's sort of made it look more as if it's been here for a long time. We've got tadpoles, we've got newts. Now I've just discovered a newt, and we get dragonflies. You see birds drinking here. You see even the little bees having sips of water, because we forget that I didn't know that they drank water, but you see them doing it, and that's one of my ponds. So it's very important to have one end shallow enough for the little tiny froglets to come out when they need to, and have lots of stuff around for them to hide from predators. And then also somebody advised me to have lots of overhanging rocks like this so that it creates safe space which is shady. Oh, look, see that? That's ants, that is.
Uh-huh.
They've been sort of tilling this. Ooh, look, you see how much wildlife? That's ant eggs.
Wow. Wow. Amazing.
Yeah. So this is comfrey, and this one is actually a variety called Bocking 14, which I got because it doesn't go mad and spread everywhere. It actually is quite contained. But the reason I got comfrey to begin with was because obviously I'm all organic, and you can cut this down, put it in a bucket of water, cut it up, put it in a bucket of water, leave it for 2 or 3 weeks. The stench is unbelievable, but it makes the most fantastic fertilizer, very good for fruit and flowers. After about 3 weeks, yeah, and then you dilute it about 10-1 and put it on all your things. And I use stinging nettles in the spring, do the same thing with them, and they're very good for growing leaves. And out of the comfrey I also make this wonderful moisturizer, which is very healing as well, and that's basically dehydrated comfrey leaves with olive oil and beeswax.
Wow.
And my neighbour, who's a potter, she uses it on her hands because they dry out with the clay.
Wow.
So I make that. This is feverfew, which is beautiful, isn't it? And that's apparently very good for migraines. And the stinging nettles, I planted them because there's a certain kind of butterfly that only lays her eggs on stinging nettle flowers. So I thought we'd have a patch over there. And then somewhere over there I've got lemon balm. But I'll show you the bee home as well. What I made yesterday, and it's a bee home. And I found out you have to drill the tunnels a little bit slightly going down, so that if it rains they don't pool with rainwater. And then also a little ledge might be helpful for that. And the tunnels, they have to be about that long, but not, you have to leave a dead end. They like a dead end. And then the solitary bees, like leafcutter bees, they make up to 3 little chambers in each tunnel for their babies, and they start at the back, obviously, lay an egg, seal up the chamber and leave a little ball of pollen in there, which is like their food, and then they do the second one, the third one, and then they fly away. And then as the eggs hatch, they eat their food, and then they nibble their way out of the chamber. That's it. And these are dog roses, wild dog roses, which have so many flowers. You can see where all the rose hips are going to be. I mean, it's going to be covered. And this is a bit of electroculture, which I've been experimenting with because apparently it draws energy from the air. Somehow it does, and helps to give an energy boost to all the plants and life around it. So this is where it all started, our beloved ash tree, the stump, and it's now got covered in turkey tail, and that's partly why as well it gets, the rotting stump has now got honey fungus which comes to eat the rotting wood, and it, when the grass is mown down, you see these great big, they call it the fruit, these huge great big honey fungus mushrooms, and they can sometimes attack vulnerable trees that aren't very healthy or they're quite young. So I actually put the electroculture coils by the trees, maybe just to give them a little bit of a boost, because I didn't want the honey fungus attacking them. Oh, so this is where it all began with this. This is called Salvia hot lips, and when I first moved here, do I tell you that I'd been living in council flats, like on the 4th floor? As a child I lived in a basement in London and then council flats, and so all I ever had was pot plants. And when I got here, one of the things that I found a bit baffling was I'd see all this land, lawns, and there's no plants. And I think it's not even a fruit tree. Like, what is the point of them? Because they would mow them down to like astroturf. And so I guerrilla planted this salvia. It's called Salvia Hot Lips, and I think a lot of people really love it here. It just cheers it. It sort of breaks up the space as well, and the bees love it. So what I wanted to say to people as well is, this where we live, that meadow, it's social housing. So I did ask Asta, who is the landlord, if we could rewild that lawn, and they were sort of like, yeah, maybe we'll have to have a committee meeting, and then God, that went on for months, right, toing and froing, and they just wouldn't commit. And then eventually I cut out the middleman, and I just phoned the people who mow the lawns, and I just said, could you stop mowing the lawn, because we're going to do it. And they said, yeah. And from that point on, that's how we got to rewild it. So I'm just appealing to anybody who's got communal lawns, or but a verge, you know, anywhere you see locally, you can just actually kind of take over and, you know, liaise with the council maybe. But really, I think if the more we all do it, the better, because the wildlife that we've seen since this started, the dragonflies, you know, we've got bats, we've got hedgehogs. I'm still waiting to see a little dormouse, but you know, it's exploded, it's exponential, so it's so rewarding, and I would encourage everybody to have a go.